Friends, we are very happy to inform you that e-modules are prepared for B.Ed program at Telangana by the School of Education, Osmania University under Pandit Madan Mohan Malaviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching Scheme MHRD New Delhi. It's indeed our pleasure to share with the teacher educators and the prospective teachers and get maximum benefit out of it. It's a first of its attempt by us. We continue to add many more such lessons to share with you all.
Hello friends, I am Khaisar Banu, working as assistant professor at Princess Dureshahwar College of Education for Women. The content of this unit was prepared and submitted by Mrs. Atiya Fatima, assistant professor, Islamia College of Education. In this unit, we shall learn about the objectives, what do we mean by curriculum and what do we mean by syllabus. We will also learn the differences between curriculum and syllabus and also the academic standards of English teaching and learning. Let us see the objectives of curriculum development. This topic will help student teachers to gain conceptual knowledge of curriculum and syllabus. They will understand the difference between curriculum and syllabus. The student teacher will know about the academic standards of English. So, to begin with, what do we mean by curriculum? A curriculum has a relation with education. What do we mean by education? In which scenario or in which setting do we acquire education? So, education is the development of knowledge, skills, values, beliefs and habits. It can occur in both formal and informal settings. In an educational process, with the help of some predefined learning experiences, both the learner and the teacher interact to achieve the educational goal. Hence, curriculum refers to a definite or defined and prescribed course of studies which students must fulfill in order to pass a certain level of examination. It is the most important part of any educational program or course that needs to be designed in a systematic and logical manner in order to obtain the desired educational outcomes. Curriculum is a broader term. It deals with the aims, objectives, strategies, evaluation. It is a complete process. Okay? And the term curriculum is derived from a Latin word curre, meaning a road or race course to be pursued to achieve the goal or target. Okay. The definition of curriculum was given by Cunningham. He has said curriculum is a tool in the hands of the artist, that is, here the artist is nothing but the teacher, to mold his material. Material in this sense is students in the studio. In the studio here represents school. Hilda Taba, 1962, he is a curriculum theorist and a teacher educator. He defines curriculum as containing a statement of aims of the specific objectives. It indicates some selection, organization of the content. It either implies or manifests certain patterns of teaching and learning. It includes a program of evaluation of the learning outcomes. So, now we have learnt that curriculum is a broader term. Curriculum contains the statements of the aims and objectives, okay, and the specific aims and objectives. It indicates some of the selection, organization of the content. Okay, it also implies the teaching learning process and also okay, the process of evaluation. So, curriculum is a broader term which deals with the first thing, the aims and objectives, selection and gradation of the content, and it also deals with the teaching learning process, and finally the process of evaluation, whether you have attained the objectives set for it or not. So, it is it's a process. So, syllabus on the other hand, the Cambridge English Dictionary gives the meaning of syllabus as a plan showing the subjects or books to be studied in a particular course, especially a course that leads to an examination. Okay. Now, suppose we take the instance, there is for example, we take here the example of a B.Ed curriculum. Okay. So, that is B.Ed, Bachelor of Education, is a professional degree course which is done after graduation, and here in this is for 2 years course. Now, the curriculum it has 4 semesters, it is for 2 years, and each year you have 2 semesters. You have been given the field works, assignments, the practicum, the theory. So, it is the curriculum is a broader term, and the course or the curriculum of B.Ed is for 2 years, and you have all the experience under curriculum. Okay. And when coming to syllabus, syllabus is prescribed for year or semester. Now, no 2 semester you have the same syllabus. For the first semester you have a separate syllabus wherein you have different papers. Okay. Semester 2 you have separate papers. So, once you clear semester 1, you will be promoted or you will be passed to semester 2. So, here now syllabus is a narrow term and curriculum is a broader term. I hope your knowledge pertaining to curriculum is clear now. Now, so we have said, according to Cambridge University English Dictionary, it gives the meaning of syllabus as a plan showing the subjects or books to be studied in a particular course, especially a course that leads to an exam. Syllabus refers to the content, what is to be taught, and the knowledge, skills and attitudes which are to be deliberately fostered together with state specific objectives. It describes a summary of the topics covered or units to be taught in a subject. So, syllabus here is what you are given knowledge of, okay, what the teachers teach you. Now, the objectives which is stated under the syllabus is stage specific objective. Each stage you have certain objectives that is achieved by the end of that course. Syllabus, unlike curriculum, are made by individual teachers. Teacher has the freedom to access to the the syllabus. Teacher has the freedom to, there is no hard and fast rule that the teacher should go to unit 2 after completing unit 3. There is no strict procedure that the teacher follows in the syllabus. Teacher has the freedom to go with the units, which is quite relating with the first unit, though second unit is not relating, and the third unit she finds there is a relation, she can take up that, okay, instead of following the chronological order. So, so teacher has the freedom to alter with the syllabus, and since they are made by teachers, they can be tailored to suit the requirement of the class. A syllabus have details such as schedule, assignments, assessments, projects, etc. So it contains information such as dates on which the assignments are to be submitted, exam dates, details of projects, etc. So syllabus is usually accessible to students. The students is given out, the syllabus is given out to the students at the beginning of the course or the program in secondary and tertiary education. Therefore, they can use it as a guidelines for their studies, So once the orientation of the course is done, the next is that the students are given the syllabus copy of the course they are dealing with. Once they clear the examination and then they are passed to the next level or next stage, then they have different syllabus. So coming to the differences between the curriculum and the syllabus. So, the basic comparison that is done between the syllabus and the curriculum in the light of the meaning. Syllabus is the document that contains all the portion of the concepts covered in a subject. Syllabus has various subjects in it. Each subjects there are certain documents, portions and concepts to be covered. Okay. Coming to curriculum. Curriculum is the overall content taught in an education system or a course. The origin. Syllabus is derived from a Greek term, whereas curriculum is derived from a Latin term. Okay. And syllabus deals with subject, curriculum deals with course. Syllabus is descriptive, curriculum is prescribed, it is prescriptive. Syllabus is in the sense of narrow, that it is narrow in sense, whereas curriculum is a broader term. Syllabus deals with only the stage specific subjects and the process of examination, whereas the curriculum deals with the aims, objectives, the content, the teaching learning process and also the evaluation process. So syllabus is set by board, board of intermediate will set the examination for intermediate students, and board of secondary education will set the papers for 10th class students. So syllabus is a narrow term, whereas curriculum is a broader term. Now curriculum, how is the process of carrying out the examination? It is the government or the administration of the schools, colleges or institutions. Or curriculum, you also take into consideration the various universities wherein they have the curriculum for their coursework. Term. For a fixed term, normally a year, syllabus is given. If you take the example of a school, you have classes from grade 1 to grade 10. So the student of the grade 1 student will have to study all the subjects and follow the syllabus and pass the examination to go to the next level, okay, that is the grade 2. And the curriculum they follow, it can be either the secondary school curriculum or Central Board of Secondary Education or ICSE. They can have any curriculum. Uniformity is, it varies from teacher to teacher. The syllabus, since it is teacher made, like the teacher has the right to alter with the curriculum, like the teacher has freedom to access to and then use it. Whereas curriculum will remain same for all the teachers. Now coming back to the relationship between the curriculum, syllabus and textbook. So the curriculum, syllabus and textbooks are interlinked. The curriculum is more abstract and it is concerned with all the aspects, different aspects that make up the teaching learning process as a whole, you know, the teaching learning experiences as a whole. Syllabus is it addresses to questions like what to teach, how to teach it. You know, the syllabus is further concretized in the form of a textbooks. So all the aspects of the curriculum, syllabus are incorporated in the textbooks. In other words, we can also say that what is mentioned in the curriculum is reflected in the syllabus and the textbook, okay, and the textbook is the reflection of the syllabus. So I hope you got the connection between the curriculum, syllabus and textbooks. The textbook is a final and a concrete tool for interaction with the learner. It is a more planned the textbook is, the more planned the textbook is, the easier is the task of the teacher making her or his learner transact the content. Okay, now coming to the academic standards of English. So before going to what are the academic standards of English, I want you all to learn the meaning of academic standards. So academic standards are the statements about what the student should know and be able to do at the end of the unit or the term. So the aims and the objectives of teaching English in our school are to make our students competent enough to listen to, understand and respond in the target language. Therefore, in a holistic approach to language, we have to give importance both to the language competency and the achievement of academic standards. At the end of the academic year, the children are expected to achieve certain academic standards in English. The everyday classroom transaction should ensure the achievement of the academic standards among the children. Teacher needs to adopt discourse-oriented pedagogy and use narratives as a pedagogical tool to set the above academic standards and to improve all the language skills of our students. So there are 6 academic standards in the light of English, like pertaining to English there are 6 academic standards. And what are those? First thing is listening and speaking. Second academic standard is reading comprehension. Third academic standard is conventions of writing. Fourth academic standard is vocabulary. Fifth academic standard is grammatical awareness, and sixth is creative expressions, both in the sense of oral and written discourses. So talking in detail about the first academic standards, that is the listening and speaking. So when you deal with this academic standards, what could be the indicators of listening and speaking? So listen to simple instructions and directions and interactions and respond accordingly. Listen to variety of discourses and respond accordingly in the classroom situation. So when you are listening to the instructions given by the teacher or the interaction which is happening between the students and the teacher, and the students are responding or teacher is responding accordingly, okay, and the various discourses, like oral discourses, you can take up impromptu extempore speeches, just a minute session, role plays, you can have under the oral discourse. Written discourse can be a descriptive writing, or taking up passage writing, article writing, compositions, letter writing. So the written discourse, you have a variety of it. So when you are dealing with listening and speaking, what are the aspects you need to work on, or what are the indicators under listening and speaking? It is, you recite. What do you listen to first? Recite, or you listen to rhymes, poems and songs. You listen to the speeches of the eminent personality. You listen to the lessons delivered by the teacher. You listen to many other things. Okay. So what do you look for when you listen to? The stress, the tone in which it is read, the pattern of rhythm, the pauses which they give, the tempo in which they are going on in their speech, and also the pitch pattern. It also give you the reflections of emotion wherever it is relevant. It also, you also listen to the stories, narrate experiences. You listen to the stories, also the experiences narrated by your friends, your colleague, your teacher, and a variety of level specific oral discourses. Coming to the second, that is the indicators for reading comprehension. So what do you read? How do you read? So through reading, what knowledge do you get? So read level specific pictures, cartoons, graph, tables, etc., and decode the ideas. Read a variety of discourses with comprehension. Read discourses analytically and identify the themes and sub-themes. Read and develop one's own perceptions. Reads critically by agreeing or disagreeing with the author. Reads a text for multiple perspectives, refers to dictionary, thesaurus and other reference material. So I hope, why do we read? We read, and what do we read? By reading, what do we develop? So when you understand the questions which is posed to you, then you will understand about the indicators used in reading comprehension. So you basically read to enhance your vocabulary, to better your fluency, and also the phonetic knowledge which is associated with it. The third academic standard is the indicators for convention writing. When you take up writing, what are the minute detailing you must remember when you take up writing? So for any piece of writing, there is a format or a body you call, or the format you call. There is introduction, the body, the conclusion of any item you take up for writing. So under indicators for conventions of writing, you have the first thing is capitalization. When do you use capital letters? Okay, and where do you use capital letters? Then the punctuation mark. What is the importance of question mark? What is the importance of comma? Why should we have a full stop? The exclamatory marks, the hyphen, the colon, the semicolon, parentheses, spaces between the words and the sentences, spellings, abbreviations, acronyms, and a variety of discourse maintaining the conventions of writing and layout. So when you take up the conventions of writing, the indicators we have discussed, it's a big list and we have discussed it. You must make sure that when you take up writing, you should be very keen with the capitalization, with the punctuation marks, and also the various minute detailing of using commas, hyphen, colon, semicolon, parenthesis. You should be apt with the spellings and all. So the indicators under conventions of writing we have discussed. The next is the indicators of vocabulary. What is vocabulary? Why should a good speaker of English must enhance the vocabulary? So you deal with words, you deal with their meaning, you have the synonyms of these words, you have the antonyms, there are suffixes, prefixes, word compound, so compounding words, all will, your phrasal verbs, there is a list of vocabulary that one should be should have a good knowledge about to be a good speaker of English. So the indicators under the vocabulary is vocabulary deals with the word, okay, word level, and then the structures, that is the morphology. So it deals with prefixes, suffixes, tense form, auxiliary verbs, modals, aspects of progressive and perfective and passive. In the accepts of that, in the agreement, there is a person, number and gender agreement. When you take up writing, there is word compound, when you have two nouns and they have their own meaning, when clubbed together gives you another meaning, that comes into compounding. Collocations. So the indicators for vocabulary, I have listed few. The fifth one, that is the indicator for grammatical awareness. So grammatical awareness, when you take up any writing, you should be very keen with the grammatical awareness of the writer, whether the structures of simple sentences are correct, whether you have in the light of what is listed, I'll just explain. There is subordination, that is adverbial connections with respect to when, if, as, because, since, etc. Then there is complementation, conjunctions which joins two sentences, for example and or of, elliptical constructions leaving out some parts, passivation, parenthesis, awareness of the structure of phrasal categories, noun phrase, prepositional phrase, phrasal verbs, adverbial verbs. So actually the indicators for grammatical awareness is in-depth knowledge of the grammar and the correction of being using the right grammar in your write-up. So the last one, that is the indicators for creative expression. So this is the sixth academic standards. So creative expression can be both in written form and oral form, okay. So that is written discourses and oral discourses. So you have a list of it. You have conversation you can have with your peer, with your teacher, with your classmates. There is a pair work, there is a group work. So descriptive writing, you can pen down your knowledge pertaining to any event, any person, any picture. Okay, you can write, you can start developing the habit of writing small poems. Okay, you can write songs and can have your own pitch pattern to it, rhythm to it. So some of the creative writing I have listed here: narrative stories, sequence of events, dialogues, evoking of sensory perception, emotion, images, settings and other details, use of characterization, coherence from the point of view of a student, learner, or from the point of view of any person, you can write it down. There is diary expression, diary writing, letter writing, poster writing, slogan writing, all falls into creative expressions, you know, right from messaging, email, and short messages, writing or making notices, posters, advertisement, all fall into the creative writing, and the indicators have been listed. Slogans, placards appropriate to the contents, maintaining brevity and rhythm in it. You can also have the, you know, play or skit. So when you have taken up the script, then you will also work on the minute detailing of the characters which are involved in the story, the layout, how should be the characters, you know, what costumes will they be making, the script you need to develop, the dialogue writing, dialogue delivery, you know, the costume, the stage sense, the actions, the dialogues, the theater performance, all will come into the creative writing, okay, and also creative expressions. So comparing, choreography, various types of essays, news reporting, you know, reading out the news, all speeches, autobiographies, biographies will fall into the creative writing, okay. And now in today's session we started with the meaning of curriculum, then we have learnt about the meaning of syllabus, the various definitions given by the academicians. Then we also have learnt about the academic standards pertaining to English language, the indicators of academic standards, each academic standards in detail. I hope your understanding pertaining to the various topics discussed is clear. Thank you.